The moment is now, and indeed, the path to world class is sports science required. And how cool is it to have one of the absolute iconic franchises of the NBA in the house today? This is pretty cool. And a great honour to welcome Dr. David T. Martin.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. It's a real privilege to be here. This conference is definitely on the map. Everyone in the U.S. knows it's here. MIT Sloan, you know, it got in early and everybody got excited, but this conference is attracting great speakers, really interesting technology, and amazing young talent. So it's a real privilege to be here. And today I want to talk to you about the path to world class, and I'm going to reference some of my comments as they pertain to the Philadelphia 76ers, but also just elite sport in general. So when you're in basketball, you realize very quickly, with the pro sports, it's not like the Olympic sports where you're just trying to set a world record or win a gold medal or take someone to their highest level of peak performance. You're in a business. It's a huge business, maybe billion-dollar business, maybe a $2 billion business. The NBA and the value of the properties is really dramatically increasing. And people don't know where it's going to plateau or where it's going to stop. And the other thing is it's entertainment. So you go to basketball to be entertained. If you win in a boring way or you win in a way that doesn't suit the needs or the feel of the fans that you're playing for, you can still be ridiculed even for winning. It needs to be fun. They got cheerleaders. They got halftime entertainment. It's about fan engagement. So if I'm in the business of working with the athletes and we're trying to look at sport and we're trying to help the athletes win at sport, we need to make sure that we understand that we're part of an organization with other needs. And as long as I go after my needs in sport without trying to compromise the needs in the other parts of the business, I'm probably going to be okay. But I could do some things that compromise the other areas that would not be okay. So you fit into this pro sport business entertainment world. One thing to recognize is that the NBA is a sporting competition structure. This graph right here shows you ELO ratings all the way back to the 1950s, which is kind of a proxy for how good was the team or how bad was the team within the league. And the NBA is designed so that you will lose. It's designed to make sure that great teams will lose. They will break down Golden State. It will eventually happen. You just will not be able to afford all those players, and they're getting a really nice run, which is great, but they don't want that to be the way it is forever. And in contrast, the Sixers, who've been just, horrifically bad, setting records for how many times you can lose games in a row, the league is going to help us. It's going to give us benefits in many different ways. And the idea is to keep it moving and changing. Intermittent positive reinforcement, that's how you become a gambling addict, right? So you want everybody to win a little bit. And so for those of us in high performance sport, we need to know that when we start selling ourselves that we're going to help performance, that we fit into the rhythms and the schemes. The way we message what we do has to fit the rhythms of the franchise that we're with. You can see we haven't been in the finals since Sixers and Lakers back in 2001. They've only won the NBA championship 3 times in its very long history. And you can see a little line there. It says DTM. That's David Martin. I came in when they were on their knees. And that's good. That's a really good time to start with an organization. For you students in the room, pick them when they're bad, because they're going to come good in most organizations, and you'll be part of a journey of success. Sometimes when you come in at the very, very highest level, it can be a bit of a tough gig, because people, when they're winning, are very, very risk adverse. People that are losing, they'll try almost anything. To build a pathway, one of the first things you obviously need, I think, in every organization, you need amazing leadership. The Philadelphia 76ers right now with Josh Harris and David Blitzer and Scott O'Neil, they're cashed up, they're competitive, they're motivated, they're young, and they're into it for the long haul. So what happens is you weather storms, you're a little more graceful with your decision making, and you don't take losses as a sign of defeat. You take losses as a learning lesson that we'll get on top of. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again and move forward. Leadership is obviously critically important. I never understood how important ownership groups are in the NBA. They really set the tone for how the whole organization works. And then, of course, we've got Brett Brown, who's head coach, but also acting as general manager right now. And it's a good illustration that sometimes certain people just have to step up, and Brett did. The former general manager has left. Some of you know why. That's a different talk. But this right here was a chance where the head coach had to just step up, and he did. And he did it in a way that brought confidence to the organization, which is important. The coaches are part of the leadership team, but they're also teaching and selecting and pulling all of the players together. And to get a coaching staff that believe in things that the ownership believe in becomes really, really important. What you'll find, and what I'll talk throughout this presentation, is that the science helps the coaches believe and articulate their vision. And our owners now are not just like, they didn't just smoke cigars and drink whiskey and their daddy gave them $1 billion because they owned a railroad. These guys made their money. They're smart business guys. They came out of Wharton School of Business. They know what they're doing, and they like logic, they like reason, and they like facts. So it's important that the coaches, as they're teaching and working and building this pathway, that their words and their philosophies resonate with the ownership group. Then you need to build in some support staff, and again, we're looking for like-minded people. We're looking for people that are excited about science, they're excited about cutting edge, they're excited about technology, but they're also people. They're people with good relationships, and they're people that are going to be able to connect with the athletes and be calm around the coaches and not implode when things get tough. And you'll see that within our support staff, we're working with 70 people are picking players, developing players, helping them when they're injured, helping them get fit. The analytics team with the Sixers is 12. That's a big analytics team for an MBA group. But it's not just 12, because they all have connections. They got connections through their universities, they got connections through industry, and they have an ability to be a force multiplier within the team that they're in, so that they stay focused on the things they need to do and not do what other people are doing so well. If you've been to Chicago and seen the stats group and some of their AI group under Patrick Lucy, it's an army up there. You don't want to compete with that. You want to connect with that. The other thing you're going to need is a facility. And it's interesting, isn't it, how big and beautiful churches are. Why? Because they're places of faith. They're places where you believe. They're places where you become inspired. Why does the Air Force Academy have the most amazing buildings you've ever seen in the world? Is because these people are going to go to the Air Force Academy out of Colorado Springs, and they're going to rule the sky and space. They will rule it. They will dominate it with the most sophisticated technology and the most advanced training. And you have to instill a belief that you will be excellent, you will be amazing. And I think many owners and many people that are designing pathways to excellence are realizing you need to, it helps to have an impressive facility as you try to engender excellence with the group that you're working with. The next thing in the NBA, you've got to play the lottery. And there's a lot of ways to play that lottery, and there's a lot of analytics in the game theory of how you play the lottery. But the bottom line is if you're really, really bad, you usually get a pretty decent pick. But there's ways to be bad, and how long do you want to be bad? And when is enough enough? And so we're in a position now where arguably 3 first-round draft picks have come to the Sixers. That doesn't happen very often at all. Rarely do you get first-round draft picks. And once you get those first-round draft picks, then you've got to develop them. And part of this pathway to success, what you need to do is create this amazing organization, because you're going to have to go out and you have to woo the free agents. So these are the guys, we got to get some of these guys next year. Who's it going to be? You know, we've got to convince them that everything is amazing in Philadelphia. And I feel so bad for those guys at Golden State. And Spurs have had their time, Xavi. You know, it's our time. And so come with us, win with us. That's the whole message that you're trying to get out. And so with all of that, you then start to go about the activities that your support staff are going to do in this amazing facility with this wonderful leadership. And the things that you do is you select players, you transition them into your organization, you develop them, they go and compete, so you showcase them, you rehab them when they're hurt, and you transition them out when the time is right. And if you do all those components gracefully and smart, and thoughtfully, then your organization starts to hum, it starts to resonate like you've got a plan and a purpose. And so the pathway kind of gets groomed, and people start to believe in it, and people start to stay in their lanes, and people start to feel excited and proud of the part of the process that they're responsible for. To make it all work really well, you try to get the technology and the analytics now layered in on top. Notice I'm ending my pathway with technology and analytics. I'm not starting my pathway. There are some that have tried to go the other way. We'll just tech out and then try to kind of reverse engineer this whole thing. But from my perspective, the tech comes in later, and you got to be very, very careful with your technology and your analytics that you're not fighting the tide. Remember, the NBA is you're going to win and you're going to lose. You want your losses to be short-lived, and you want your wins to last for a long time. If you come in on a descending rhythm and you start amping up and selling how smart you are and how teched up you are, you're just not going to probably get the buy-in that you're looking for, as if you were putting the tech and the analytics and the smarts behind the team and showcasing a bit more when it's starting to accelerate and it's starting to build. People start to really love that message. If you want to piss off a coach, find like 2 years of losing and tell them how smart your latest 2 hires are in analytics. They couldn't give a shit, really, really. It's really disappointing for them. They feel like you're disconnecting to understand the pain and the agony that they're in. So there's a time and a place for everything. The technology is exciting. You can do all kinds of things with it, but what we're trying to do, and what I think is important for the pathway of success, is that the people within your team believe deeply and profoundly in the technology that you're using. So instead of getting tech and trying to convince someone to use it, I like to work with the staff and say, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Let's see if we can go get that for you and make it work. So what's the best tech? The best tech is the tech that's used. What's the best analytics? The best analytics is the kind of analytics you believe in. And so we'd get somebody like Scott Ebsley, who's a wonderful Toowoomba boy, a great physiotherapist. He's really excited about shear wave elastography and the health of the tendon and the way you can evaluate the health of the tendon. Good on you, so let's go get it. Let's let you explore it. Let's start you get to start working with it. Gym aware, our guys have access to a lot of different tech in the gym. They've been able to see it. They think it's easy to use. They like it for certain assessment sessions. They like the support that they get from the technicians that come out, like Evan, and so they start to feel comfortable with that technology. Not because it's necessarily 10 times better than anything else, but because of the relationship and the way they've been exposed to it and the way it's fit into their vision and where they're trying to go. Key motion saves a lot of time. There's a lot of products on the market. Sometimes it's timing and proximity and what you're used to. You get some interns that are doing a lot of hand filming. One of them says, I really like the way I can do this with key motion. It's really easy to transfer over and save time through this type of technology. Right now, we've got Connexon for RFID tracking. There's a lot of RFID tracking out there, but some technology is integrated to other things. So Connexon's integrated to shot tracking. So all of a sudden, your decision becomes a little bit easier as you're trying to track the way players move around the court, because one's not just giving you the movement patterns of the players, it's also letting you track the shots that they're taking. And you can start to take second spectrum data, which comes from all of our games. Company integrates the game data into their software package, so your practice data and your game data are pulled together for you. They become very, very desirable, especially with their add-ons like the shot tracking. You can take some of the data that you're getting from all of the movement patterns. You can see it from a game. You can see it from practice. Sergey, one of our analysts, has done some really nice data visualization of commercially available data to help the coaches know and to help us that are trying to prepare the athletes to see whether our practices look like the games. The rhythm, the dark blue is intense movement patterns. The light blue is slower movement patterns. The white is gaps between movement. And you see how intermittent these games actually are, and it helps us to start to construct the training in ways that allow the athletes to believe that they're really getting prepared for what's going on. RSPCT tracks the shots and gives us high precision shot analytics, but again, when it's connected to Connexon, it starts to save us a lot of time. So we can spend more time looking at who's shooting bad. If you're shooting good in practice, shooting bad in games, why is that? Do we need to change the challenge point in the games or in the practices, or is there something else going on with competence and trying to go through not performance analysis, but performance diagnostics? Let's try to understand what might be the source of this performance problem. We have, some little texts will come your way that are really easy to use, such as this home court, which is a bunch of ex-Apple engineers, and they basically just have an app now. The RSPCT is in our really nice training facility, but when we go out in the field, we want something that's more portable. And so these guys are basically, you put your phone on a tripod and you film people shooting, and you can get your shot charts just from the iPhone app. It's free. At least it's free for a while. And it allows us to try to connect remote locations to current locations and allow the athletes to know that what we measure in our facility is important, so important that we'll try to measure it when we're out in the field as well. For some of our injured guys, which we've had a lot of, we will put some technology right down on their feet. We'll track the number of shots. We'll try to give them a visual image, and our owners and our coaches a visual image, to tell them that we can look at the right foot and the left foot and the low intensity impact and the high intensity impact, and we can try to put things together in a progressive way so things make sense. So instead of being hurt and it's chaos and you're just scared and you're just managing press releases, you're trying to build thoughtful plans and use the tech to help you move forward in a thoughtful way, and to also get the feedback that makes you confident that you're making good decisions. The whole idea of virtual reality is super interesting to us from the injured athlete. A lot of times they're depressed, they're becoming hopeless, they're anxious, have I been out of the game too long? And to try to get some of the movement data into a VR space and allow them to get back in the game, at least visually, can be a little bit of comfort food. And maybe there's going to be ways in the future that we teach people how to make decisions better using that technology. So, you got all that tech. We've got our pathway, we've got our people, we've got our facility, we've got our players. The trick is somebody's got to try to coordinate how on the inside of that circle, there's that life cycle of the athlete. And on the one side, we have all of the companies, and down on the bottom, we have research partners and smart people that can really think about the best way to use this tech and interpret this tech. And on the other side, you'll see that the ownership group is not just interested in the Sixers, but they have other teams they're buying as well. And you start to see these bigger collaboratory environments where the tech and the research and the network and the franchises mix, and you get value add from your efforts. And that's kind of the dream. That's where these pathways seem to be going. Now, I could say, that's it. That's the talk. Thank you very much. There's your pathway. I should have trademarked it. Most of the old guys in the room would say, hell, I knew that ages ago. You know, it's pretty straightforward. That's what we do. So let's just all get on and do it. But there's a bunch of teams out there, and they're still losing, and they're still fighting, and they're still hating life. And it looks like they're doing everything right, but something's gone wrong. And what I want to leave you with is this idea that it's not a simple space to play. It's not formulaic. It's not like an engineering spreadsheet. There's something really weird when you get into working with humans. Humans are weird, unpredictable at times, volatile at times. And sometimes when technology comes in to save the day, sometimes it can be completely disruptive. One of my favorite examples is fetal heart rate monitoring. And it's come around in the 1960s and 70s. It's been a mainstay in obstetrics to measure the contractions of the mother and to measure the heart rate of the baby accurately and reliably. I mean, this is going to save lives. This is going to save lives. It's going to change obstetrics, and we're going to lift to a whole new level of sophistication. Midwives are so yesterday. You know, medical doctors with tech are so today. But what's going on? It's not just like one graph from one country. This is the United States. This is happening in many countries. Fetal heart rate monitoring comes in, amazing technology. People understand heart rate variability. They understand all kinds of interesting data around fetal heart rates and babies that are about to be born. And what we're seeing globally are tremendous increases in cesareans and C-sections. Way, way, way more than is needed to keep the mother safe or the baby safe. And obstetrics had a big spin, and they're trying to get out of it. They're trying to come back to a balance point that's right for the country. Yes, some cesareans will save lives, but too many are not required. And it seems like there's that line 15%. At 15%, hospitals might be doing the right kind of thing. They're monitoring enough and doing enough that's needed, but they're not overdoing it. So technology can be problematic. We're not working with robots. We don't just program these guys and they run out and do what they're programmed to do. We'd love to think they are, but they're really emotional critters. These NBA guys are really emotional. And they get bored and unmotivated and flat and scared and weak and frustrated and angry, and they have all these negative emotions. And then we're trying to get them on the positive side, trying to make them all excited and motivated and happy and energetic, and they want to do stuff. And if we come in like policemen with our technology and we say, wear this, and they say, why? And we say, do what you're told. I'm the policeman. This is my tech. I'm doing my job. You do your job. And they feel disempowered, or you create weird-ass codependencies, then things can get really, really weird. And the analytics team and the technology team can help the team implode. You could almost point your finger at that team and go, you did it. The coaches on their own were fine until you came here. And now you've completely wrecked it. And you got to be really careful about how the tech and the analytics resonate. And I think the reason so many people around the world want Australian analysts and Australian sports scientists is because in their training, they're so connected to the coaches and athletes, so that they've got this really nice awareness, situational awareness of what's going on. The belief effects are profound. We know that anxiety and depression and a lot of things that are in sport. I'm nervous, I'm off, I don't feel right, I think I'm sick, I'm scared. We know that in a lot of those areas, belief effects are profound. You can give people a placebo and you can take away pain. You can take away depression. You can take away anxiety. If you believe it, it will happen. And we know that small pills, you got a small pill is not as effective as a big pill. Big pills are better. We know that colored pills are better than white pills. Capsules are better than pills. Injections are better than capsules. And surgeries usually trump everything. So if you're really freaking out and you don't know what to do and nothing's working, you can go get surgery even though the surgery doesn't mechanistically help you. Just the thought that I went to surgery and I should be better and I take a break might help reset you. And so the belief effects are really powerful. In some of the new and novel placebo-controlled studies, the power of technology is starting to be revealed, and it's really interesting. There's a number, this PSAT, the COWAT, and the SDMT. They're all cognitive function tests. And what they've done in this particular study is they just took a group of normal sleepers. They put some really cool sleep tech on them. And what they did is they told one group, your REM sleep is amazing. It's over 25%. Your sleep architecture is phenomenal. And you'll probably remember things, feel energetic. You might get tired, but you'll snap out of it. I mean, you're a textbook sleeper. Good on you. It might even be genetic. You're just amazing. White lab coat, you look the part. And the other group, remember, these people are all sleeping exactly the same. They're all pair matched, and they tell them, I feel, look, your REM sleep's bad, your sleep's disrupted, it doesn't look good. And they do that over 3 days. Within 3 days, you can start to reach statistically significant differences. You can polarize your group on cognitive function by telling people that they're not sleeping well, even when they are. And you can improve their performances when you tell them they're sleeping great, and even though they're not. And so what if your tech's off a little bit? What if you're running beta trials and you're getting a bit of noise and you get a little bit worried early on? You could actually be harming more than helping. There's something known as a Pygmalion Effect. When I found these papers, I was so excited. They're essentially teaching effects and belief effects. They're done a lot in schools, sometimes in the military. And the concept is basically patterned off of this, ancient Greek mythology. The king of Cyprus, he gets banished. He goes off to an island. He's lonely. He carves out a statue out of ivory of a naked woman. It sounds a little bit perverted, but hang with me. So you make this statue. It looks amazing. It's a woman. And he believes in it so much that it comes to life. And what the research is showing is that if I give you a student or I give you a soldier and I tell you that this person is bright and they're incredible and their upside's phenomenal, a first-round draft pick, when people believe in that, they provide warmer, more supportive climates, they teach more material, they allow more time for questions to be answered, and they do the kind of things that make those kids smarter. They do things that make soldiers more capable and competent. So what if the technology is helping the coach understand that this person right now is not looking like they're on a good trajectory? So what happens when all the coaching staff turn away from that athlete? How are they supposed to realize their potential? You know, I wish all the kids felt like they were #1 draft picks. It's amazing what happens when you know you're a #1 draft pick and everybody is believing you are a #1 draft pick. In the old days, this is a great book for those of you that like to do, you know, background reading this summer. Percy Cerretti, you're in the 1950s, you know, you got all these great middle distance runners from Australia. It's Portseas out in the sand dunes. You got this old geezer, and he's basically read a lot, thought a lot, trained a lot, and he's come up with what he believes is the way to eat, the way to do intervals, the way to monitor athletes, the way to do resistance training. And this one guy, no tech, he comes up with this thing that he totally believes in. And they produce as a group, you know, athletes that lay down running times that are truly extraordinary. And some that didn't get matched for decades after this period. This is in the 1950s. They didn't even know what a force plate was. They even have heart rate monitors. You know, they're doing it by basically listening with a stethoscope and counting heart rate in the morning. And the thing that I'd really take home from this is this guy picked those runners. They had almost qualified to get there. And if they came in, they knew Percy believed in them. And they knew it was going to be the best training in the world. And with that belief, extraordinary things happened. And we've got we've got a player right now, and this guy, he's got no place in the NBA, TJ McConnell. And he's from Pittsburgh. He's not even first round, he's not second round. He does not belong. I've told him this. I said, I use a slide of you. You don't belong in the NBA. You just don't. But the coach loved him. And somehow, fans of Philadelphia, they're a bit like Australia. They love an underdog. They're like, go get him, Tiger. You know, they love him. They love the underdog. I believe in you. Fucking stick into it, mate. They love it. They just love it. And this kid, he's like, I'm going to go down in flames, but I'm going to go down trying. I'm going to put on a show. And he just plays, it's so much fun to watch. And he just keeps getting better and better and better. He becomes the guy you can't cut. And the whole team believes in him. We've had a lot of other guys in his kind of level, and we don't believe in them as much. And I think it really penalizes where they can go. What I'll finish with is, I wrote a paper with Shona Halson when I was at the Australian Institute of Sport, and we started really talking a lot in our ideas meetings about how powerful the belief effect is. And we got to this point, we said, why don't we just lie? Why don't we just make it up? I mean, it's really hard to understand neural networks and artificial intelligence and to do all this deep learning. You got to study and really, maybe really what you do is you're just spinning a yarn and you're trying to bring back a story in a sophisticated way so people believe in it. So save yourself time. Go to bed early. You don't need all that funky mathematics. It's complicated. Just, you know, dress up, look the part, buy a cool pair of glasses. That makes you look clever. And just lie. Just lie your ass off. And there are a lot of people in the industry that are doing that. And some of them are making a lot of money. So why do you want to be legit? Why not just lie to win if believing in what you're doing is so important? And we've said that lies don't last forever. And what we're struggling, a lot of us, to do is actually believe in ourselves and believe in our advice. And I think that just like in the medical profession, what is important for doctors or healers of any sort or type is to convince themselves that their techniques are powerful and effective and that there's undeniable evidence for their effectiveness. That helps the doctor believe. And I think a lot of times people say, do we need sports science? Do we need any science? Do we need the science, data science? Do we need coaching science? Do we need medical science? I mean, just sport was fine before all of us got involved in it. And I'm saying those days are gone, because if you really, really want to believe in what you're doing, you need really smart people to believe in the pathway that you've built. And we need to believe in it so hard that it resonates with us so that we can come to the coaches with that profound conviction. And when we have that going, that's when the program starts to get really exciting. So in summary, what I'd like to leave you with is there are some nuts and bolts of the performance pathway. Definitely the technology and analytics integrate in every part of that process. But I would say one of the most profound and important parts of the analytics and the science is to help the coaches and the support staff truly believe that what they're doing is the right thing to do. And then that makes it easier to work with the athletes to get their buy-in. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, how good's that?